Sometime in 2020, between October 2nd and October 5th, a little indie game called Friday Night Funkin' was submitted for the Ludum Dare 47 Game Jam. And while it only placed 314th overall in terms of the Game Jam, it would eventually spawn a following of devoted fans. However, just like any large fan base, the Friday Night Funkin' fandom has spawned a reputation for being cringe. This video will be about that cringy part of the Friday Night Funkin' fandom. But before we begin, I just want to say the following. Don't think of me as just some a random fucking Friday Night Funkin' hater, because I've actually been a fan of the game since week 2 was released. I also want to say that you shouldn't take this as a representative of the Friday Night Funkin' fandom, because I am willing to bet that the majority of people in the fandom aren't like these people. Without further ado, let's begin. Now, a key part as to why the Friday Night Funkin' fandom is so cancerous has to do with the fact that a lot of the fans happen to be children. In fact, I am willing to bet that the majority of the fans of Friday Night Funkin' aren't even 13 years old yet. Just like how Five Nights at Freddy's was baby's first horror game and Undertale's baby's first RPG, Friday Night Funkin' is baby's first rhythm game. Therefore, due to the fact that most of the Friday Night Funkin' fans happen to be young and inexperienced in terms of social environments, I believe that this is a core reason as to why Friday Night Funkin's fandom could be so toxic. You see, children are often hyperactive and really excited about stuff. They want to tell everyone about that stuff they're interested in and want to explain to everyone what that stuff means and different interpretations of it and all of that stuff, and eventually bring that stuff everywhere where they go. And that's a perfect segue into my next point about one toxic aspect of the Friday Night Funkin' fandom. That being young fans bringing Friday Night Funkin' anywhere they go. You see, Friday Night Funkin' is a very easy game to mod, and more often than not, these mods get really popular. There's a very popular modding genre where you would take people from other sources of media and you would mod them into Friday Night Funkin'. In fact, out of the 37 most popular mods, 40% of them are based off of established media, and this isn't even counting the ones of established media that were made by the original creators. As we know, most of the Friday Night Funkin' fans happen to be very young children, so they see all of these established media, most often established media that they aren't well familiar with, and then they'll be like, oh wow, I wonder what this is, I'll go check it out. Now this is fine and all until they start commenting wider here. They start commenting, haha, funny FNF or whatever the hell on these old pieces that seem nostalgic to you. And eventually these annoying fans bring it so much that you're just too annoyed by it and can't take it anymore. And I'm willing to bet that this is the experience that most people who have a dislike of the FNF fandom have. The point I'm trying to make is, look, people who do this, I get that you're a fan of this thing and you think it's great, but don't fucking shove it down everyone's throat, because sooner or later it just gets annoying. Because being a fan of something is a lot like having a penis. It's okay to have one, just don't fucking wave it around in my face unless I ask you. Now, I know this will piss off a lot of you FNF fans out there, but you must understand that Friday Night Funkin' is a kid's game. I don't care that it wasn't intended to be one, nor do I care that there's a lot of sex-related humor, because it's colorful, cartoonish, sweet-sounding game. Well, most of the time. Therefore, most people go in expecting a children's game, so when these fans find something that contradicts this worldview, more often than not, they will react in anger. I'm going to give you guys two well-known examples of this happening. I'm going to start with the less serious one. Hey guys, just so you know, I decided to cut out the first case because I ultimately decided against including it at the last minute. But if you're curious, I was originally going to talk about the retrospector drama. Anyways, back to the video. On March 20th, 2021, the Midfight Masses mod would be released. And while this mod would become one of the most iconic FNF mods, it had one glaring problem with it: the charting. The charting was often desynced and had notes that didn't really reflect what was happening in the actual game, and has served as an example of what happens when you sacrifice accuracy for difficulty. However, a lot of people decided to harass the people responsible for the mod. I don't think that I should have to tell anyone that harassing people simply because they made an oopsie while they designed the game is a bad thing, and this ordeal got so bad that the main artist for the game ended up leaving. Now, these prior examples obviously demonstrate a level of toxicity within the FNF fandom, but it doesn't warrant my previous comparison with infamous fandoms like the FNAF and Undertale fandoms back in their heydays. And that would be the case if not for one extra thing. You see, wherever there is a large gathering of children, whether it be school, Minecraft servers, family gatherings, or mass, opportunistic moneymakers, clout chasers, and sexual deviants are always bound to follow. The worst part of not just the FNF fandom, but any large fanbase isn't the younger fans themselves, but the people who exploit them. Let's start with the businessmen, because out of the three, they are arguably the least harmful. Yeah, I'm surprised too. Friday Night Funkin' becoming very popular, it would be insane for large YouTube businesses not to immediately jump on it. And jump they did, posting a wide variety of low-quality things, such as low-quality animations, low-quality FNF mods made off of another trending topic, and these weird fucking live-action videos for some reason. Made hot and ready and completely mass-produced for literal fucking toddlers to endlessly watch. Fun is infinite with... I don't fucking know, I'm just gonna... Next, we have people who do things for attention, which, given the general age of the FNF fandom, you can bet that there's a lot of. The following is a very recent example. About a month ago, by the time of this video's release, a very famous Minecraft YouTuber by the name of Technoblade died of cancer. Now, you may be saying something along the lines of, well, obviously his death was very sad, but what does the death of a very famous Minecraft YouTuber have anything to do with this video? Well, merely a few days after Technoblade's death was publicly announced, someone made it this thing. Now, obviously, this is disrespectful for reasons that I shouldn't have to elaborate on. And before you say something along the lines of, well, maybe they had good intentions and accidentally screwed up, well, here's one of the tags for the video. The person who made the cover later claimed that that was just a joke, but if you're making a tribute to someone who was important to you who died, why would you put a joke? To top it all off, they later released an apology video. However, based on how they acted during the apology video, I'm not inclined to believe that they were genuinely remorseful. All in all, while you could argue that they are just a young person who made a mistake and didn't know any better, I am more inclined to believe that they did it mostly for views and got scared when they got called out. Now, before we get to the elephant in the room, I just want to lightly touch upon leakage. For the uninitiated, leakage is basically revealing something about a project without the original author's consent. Leaking is somewhat prevalent in the Friday Night Funkin' community, particularly around the more bigger mods. The most relevant being the leaks around the Versus Sonic.exe mod, which according to one of the people who worked on the mod was a deciding factor in why the mod eventually got recently cancelled. And while there are many possible reasons for people to spread leaks, mostly due to being excited about the leaked material, impatience, or sometimes even spite, there's no denying that seeking attention might be one of the reasons. You see, leaking information is generally seen as a bad thing. And it just so happens that one of the best ways of getting attention is to do a bad thing in the eyes of people. So it's not surprising that a desire for clout, so to speak, is a motivating factor. And while I personally don't find anything wrong with leakage, there's still a lot of people who do. And it can cause a lot of stress for some people. Now it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. There's a pedophile problem in the Friday Night Funkin' community. It's gone to the point where people are making dark humor out of it, and fellas, let me tell you something. If a pedophile problem gets to the point where people start making jokes about it, then you know that it's very pervasive. But why is this the case? Why could the FNF community have so many pedophiles inside of it? Well, I have a theory. Introducing the Stein Effect. A psychological effect I have coined in order to explain this phenomena. I am currently portraying a chart of it right above, but I'm going to elaborate on it right now. First off is stage 0, a stage I'm willing to bet that most of the viewers watching this video are currently in. The person in this stage would be completely irrelevant in the eyes of the world, only relevant to their colleagues and family. The next stage is stage 1. Here, the person has become famous for whatever reason. It is here that their ego starts to increase due to the amount of attention that they are receiving. However, this often isn't noticeable at this stage. Eventually, the person under this effect starts to experiment with their fans, testing more and more to see what their fans would do for them. At the same time, their ego has started to become noticeable. This is stage 2. And I'm willing to bet that it's the stage that most famous people are currently in. And if all of this goes unchecked, then it eventually progresses to stage 3. Here, their ego has completely dominated their life. They have started manipulating and controlling their fans to get what they want, from lying to gaslighting to intimidation. And eventually this will progress into its most extreme form, stage 4, where the subject will commit a sex-related crime, whether it be rape, possession of child pornography, or anything along those lines. Nothing's off the table. And with the invention of the internet, all of this has become way more possible for anyone to fall into than before, and it is worse in some circles than in others, especially in the Friday Night Funkin' community, where it is way easier to achieve notoriety than in any other community, where all you have to do to get popular is just to make a halfway decent mod. Combine this with the fact that the Friday Night Funkin' community is mostly full of children who are more naive and willing to forgive others leads to an absolute disaster of an environment. Because the worst part about the Friday Night Funkin' fandom isn't necessarily the children, not their behavior, not anything like that, but of the people who exploit the children for their own gain.